Your little present, and I've got it right here. Merry Christmas, buddy. Here's some some nice, Danger Ross socks right there, baby.
All right, we're back. Not so perfect of a week. Tell you what, the 49ers really dropped the ball last week, Mike.
I was pretty close to perfect, and I was lifting with my right hand the whole time, too. So that was stimulating this side of the brain. That means my left side of the brain was on fire.
So we got a few matchups, and my picks were about as good as I felt last week. Getting over some illness, you're going to hear throughout this episode. Prips. It's the only way to get over an illness.
Yeah, we don't have the Prips bottle tonight because he's been busy nursing it. He's been pounding Prips. That's not a doctor's advice. That's my advice. Take your Prips. Okay, so Dirk, first game of the week, and it's a big one on Saturday. We've got the Lions and the Cowboys. That sounds very 1990s. Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith squaring off. Not quite the same here, but it's a big game. What do you think?
All right, listen. Cowboys have gone on the road twice in two big games and potential, either Super Bowl or even NFC playoff matchups, and came out on the losing end of both of them. Not boding well for them if they don't win the division title and have to go on the road. So, look, I think they have to bounce back eventually. This is a good team. I am not a Dallas hater. I just think that they don't play very well on the road in those conditions, and those were two very good teams. I'm going to take Dallas in this one. I think that the Lions are they're real finicky. One game they come out and they put up 45. The next game, they're losing, games they never should have. And who would have said that right now the Lions are tied for the best record in the NFC? Like,
it's wild.
I'm used to watching the Lions on Thanksgiving, and it's just another trash game where you're hoping garbage time fantasy points start amounting to something.
Yeah, it's wild, Dirk. I mean, this is for real. We're talking about, and we'll get here on another segment, but it is 2023, almost 2024, and we are talking about the Detroit Lions and Cleveland Browns as actual potential Super Bowl contenders. That is insane.
Next, it's going to be like the Browns Raiders AFC Championship 2025.
Oof, he's calling it right now. Dirk, I think I'm going to go ahead and get Dallas back on track with a win in this one.
So we got both Dallas in this one. And before we move on from this game, Mike, how is Dan Campbell not getting any love for Coach of the Year?
Yeah, it's kind of surprising. I think, Dirk, that you answered your own question. Is every time this team hits a skyscraping high, then they come back down and do what they did on Thanksgiving.
But they still have the best record. I mean, this team, even last year, no one was a believer. Started the season, no one was a believer that they would even win the division.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know. I think Dan Campbell has to be in that conversation. I think it's frustrating. But, Mike, I'll let you either take the final word or go on to the next matchup.
Let's just say Cowboys over the Lions. Next matchup, Dirk, is the big one for the week. Of course, that is the Ravens and the Dolphins. This one is for probably AFC supremacy. Not with certainty. I mean, the Dolphins haven't even clinched that division. I believe they can with a win, however. And if Miami wins, all of a sudden, that week 18 matchup with Buffalo gets real weird because the Dolphins are probably playing for the 1 seed at that point. I don't know, Dirk. What do you think?
Look, just like our picks last week, I'm going to go with the reversion to the mean, okay? So that means I'm taking Dolphins in this one. Realistically, it's a feel-good pick here. If I'm going to pick based off of who I actually think it's going to win, it's probably going to be the Ravens. But for mean reversion's sake, we're going to go ahead and take the Dolphins here. Because the AFC is so competitive and everybody seems to just go back to as close of a matchup and make all the odds of everything crazy, taking the Dolphins in this one, it's going to be interesting to see how their matchup with speed really matches up against what is probably the toughest and the biggest bullies in the league.
Yeah, I think this one, interestingly, Dirk, does turn into a shootout. I think Miami gets their points. I've got the Dolphins as a very sneaky Super Bowl pick. I'm not gonna lie. They for a while there, they're kind of under the radar, and they're right back in it.
It's because they blew everything on Denver.
They scored 70 that day. That's for sure. I like Miami getting this done. I think that there will be a rematch. I think Miami might take the number 1 overall seed in the AFC, Dirk. I think it might happen. Also, I'm going to just let you know, I'm getting a hell of a calf workout right now, just standing on my tiptoes, trying to be as tall as you. Look at this for you viewers.
Oh my
So,
oh my god, do you have a lift on your truck too?
No. You know the Seinfeld where George is trying to get lifts? I've been working on that for life. Next, let's move on from that entirely. So the Bengals are hanging on by a tenuous thread, just kind of like I am in this particular episode and segment. The Bengals really have to win this week. Unfortunately, they're playing another team that doesn't have to win, but they kind of do in the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Chiefs can't keep slumping there, can they?
I mean, they could. And you know what's funny about this? And what's wild, if we're going to talk about the Chiefs at all, it's just the fact that Denver still has a shot, statistically, of winning the division.
It could happen.
And they're going to bench Russell Wilson.
Could.
We'll get to that later. But in this matchup, I'm going to take the Bengals on this one as a rebounder. Now, that's after the performance Browning had last week, very Purdy-esque. It's one of those weird picks to take, but I just think there's too much talent on the Bengals defense and really just overall in that offense. Joe Mixon carries this to victory.
My God. You're going with the Chiefs to lose again?
Yes.
I don't think I could be that bold, Dirk. I just don't think that the Chiefs are losing to the Browning Bengals in this one. The Chiefs it can't happen twice in a row. They have fundamental problems. They may be critically flawed. I don't know if they're going to go anywhere in the playoffs, but they are going to win on this particular Sunday.
I, Kelsey, think that this is going to be trouble.
Oh my. All right. Last one. This just continues to cascade downward just as my height continues to shrink throughout this episode. The final game of the week, Dirk. We're going back in time to the beginning of the season of Buford Sports Network when we used to pick the dumpster fire of the week.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a surprise dumpster fire of the week for you this week, and it is Jared Stidham versus Easton Stick. And if that doesn't sound like a barn burner, I don't know what is. Broncos and Chargers, what do you think, Dirk?
I just don't know why you sit Russell. I know it's for contract purposes, is what they say. If you don't intend to basically concede the rest of the year, is my point here. I'm going to take the Chargers on an interim coach to turn this around and beat the Broncos, as they traditionally do in late December. This is going to be late December, early January. So, look, I just think the Chargers turn this around, Stidham for his game back, or first game. That's got to be a defeated locker room.
I think based on the news that happened today when we're filming this, Russell Wilson has been announced as being benched. And then what happened in the Patriots game, which was just its own colossal blunderfest. I don't know how you recover from that if you're the Broncos this year. I'm going to go with you, Dirk. I think Denver loses this one. I think they somehow lose out and go 7-10, just like they did in 2021. 7-6 to 7-10.